Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with the latest foldable from Samsung, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip6. So we're dealing here with a handset which is quite powerful, and it comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor for Galaxy. At the same time, the same size of large screen externally as the predecessor, but some tweaks regarding the cooling with a vapor chamber, and also a very cool handycam mode which is triggered once you're in the camera area. Speaking of camera, we get a brand new 50 megapixel main sensor instead of the 12 megapixel one, and the mode I mentioned before is this one. That's how you hold the phone like a camcorder, and it's pretty cool. Aside from that, you're also getting a larger amount of RAM in the starting version, which is 12 gigs instead of 8, and the phone itself comes with IP49 certification, which I haven't seen before, and of course a large touch of Galaxy AI in a new way which lets you create objects which aren't even real. Okay, so we've gotten going. This is the Galaxy Z Flip6 review, so let's start. First of all, the design is obviously similar to the Galaxy Z Flip5, and the only thing they added are some rings around the camera area, while at the same time the frame appears to be more resilient. It's still a gapless design, as you can see here, and the colors include the yellow, there's also silver, mint, blue, black, white, and peach apparently. We're getting Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection on this side, I think, and probably also this side as well. A matte finish and also matte for the flat frame. I would say the frame is even flatter than the past year. It weighs 187 grams like the predecessor, and when closed it's a bit slimmer at 14.9 millimeters compared to the 15.1 of the predecessor. Obviously a very compact phone which is very easy to put in the pocket and use like this if you want to hold it closed. If you want to hold it open, it's a very long phone and your hands may not always reach the buttons in a proper manner. However, this long format is nice if you're at a concert and you're not very tall and you have the cameras here at the top, and you can lift it like this and hold it above everyone else's heads to film, in portrait though. Aside from that, I would have to mention that when it's open, it's 6.9 millimeters in thickness, and we have an enhanced armor aluminum frame with tougher drop resilience. IP49, by the way, means that it can take solid particles of around 1 millimeter, and also can be dunked in up to 1.5 meters of water. We're done with the design. I think it's time to address the displays. Of course, I'm going to start with the big one, the main one, 6.7 inches dynamic LTPO AMOLED 2X, a resolution of 2640 over 1080 pixels. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 plus, and up to 2600 nits of brightness. Now, the external screen, just like the last year, it's smaller than the one offered by the Xiaomi Mix Flip and also by the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. It's a 3.4-incher AMOLED with a 720 over 748 pixels. It's got an interesting shape here, not exactly a square as you can see, and well, it's quite vividly colored and bright and crisp and handles the sun like a champ. Now, if you want to see the actual experience of the main screen, we have prepped a video here and you can watch it like this, or you can go full screen, although you're going to miss some of the parts at the top and bottom. It's a crisp display, I'll give you that much. When you're viewing content, you will not see or feel the crease, but in the general interface you'll definitely see it more than on the Razrs. Wide view angles, excellent contrast in the full July sun, so I was never unhappy with what the screen delivered. Vivid colors, good contrast, and by the way, we can also talk about the external screen. Okay, here you can see the media output. However, you cannot use as many apps as you're using on the Razr 50 Ultra, for example. You do have YouTube, so that's a plus. You do have also other applications here. We have maps here, we have messages, we also have a few more. This is the main home screen, and you can also pinch to see the widgets or the panels, if you want to call them like that, and you can arrange them from the settings. You can have an always on display and a sort of virtual pet or animation to play with. You can have your steps here, you can have your camera, and obviously a double press of the power button lets you use the main camera as a selfie camera. However, once again, not as many options as the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra offers, and you can see all of them in a dedicated area here. Cover screen, where you can have your versions of display, lock screen I mean. These are the widgets you can use. There are applications, gallery, Google, health, phone, reminders, SmartThings, Spotify, voice recorder, and weather. There's also the timeout, notification, and I would say that's about it. You can also use main screen navigation here as pointed out in the lab section, and these are the applications allowed here. Not many of them, as you can see. Maps, messages, and messages of two varieties, and YouTube as well. Once again, Motorola has more full screen apps. Okay, that's it as far as the screen is concerned. I think it's time to move on and talk about the processor. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 CPU, special version for Galaxy they call it, with a vapor chamber this time. And unlike last year when we had 8 gigs of RAM to start with, now we start off at 12 gigs of RAM. LPDDR5X of course, accompanied by up to 512 gigabytes of storage UFS 4.0. There's also a version with 256. I didn't encounter any sort of lag here, but there is some heat when you're playing games, even the brand new Asphalt Legends, which used to be Asphalt 9. So yeah, take that into account. There will be some overheating in strong games like Shooter, Call of Duty, Mobile Warzone and things like that. I actually have proof of that, so screenshots. You can definitely go here, let me find it. You can see that it's gotten quite worse as far as the throttling test is concerned. It throttled up to 50% of its max performance, which is definitely not flattering. Actually, want to go back a bit now because I actually forgot something. A quick turn towards the screen department now because I forgot to show the brightness. So, the main screen achieves an incredible brightness of 1247 lux units, which is quite impressive. It's above the OnePlus Open and the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra, below the Z Flip5 by a bit. The external screen gets 719 lux, which is above the Galaxy Z Flip5 and Oppo Find N, but below the Razr 50 and the Razr 40 Ultra. And now we get back to the original thing we were at, the performance. Okay, so keep in mind there is throttling here, be careful with the games and the benchmarks, and speaking of benchmarks, we also have those here. Antutu 10 lists us with a pretty good score, just above the Galaxy S23 Fan Edition and Nothing Phone 2. Below the Zenfone 11 Ultra. We go to the Geekbench 6 multi-core, 8th spot, just above the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the Zenfone 11 Ultra, but below the Galaxy S24 series. We're also treated to Slingshot Unlimited here, where we placed on the second spot, second after OnePlus 12 and above the OnePlus Nord 4, Nothing Phone 200, 200 and more. Several other tests show us above the Z Fold 5 in a few GPU tests, which is actually not that bad. In the end, a pretty solid top 10 result, and comes at the expense of the temperature. You can see here 44.4 degrees Celsius achieved when performing benchmarks. So yeah, there's that. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, we are certainly due an upgrade here. It's a 4000 mAh unit, while the predecessor had a 3700 mAh unit. It charges at 25 watts via wire, 15 watts wirelessly, and 4.5 watts is reverse charging. You can juice up other devices via this phone, just like the predecessor, and there's no bundle charger in the box, sadly. So, we did some tests, including video playback, and we achieved 21 hours and 30 minutes, which is quite satisfying here. It goes above the Motorola Razr 40 and the Razr 40 Ultra. It also surpasses the Oppo Find N2 Flip. However, it's below the Razr 50 and the Razr 50 Ultra from Motorola, its main rivals. In continuous usage, I would say a decent result, 12 hours and 46 minutes. It's above the Motorola Razr 40 Ultra and also the Razr 40 and 50. It's below the Razr 50 Ultra and below the Oppo Find N2 Flip, another one of its rivals. Charging requires quite a bit of time, 1 hour and 32 minutes with a 30 watt charger I had laying nearby, but at least after about 30 minutes you should be good to go with half of the percentage, 49%. There are also other specs here like there's battery protection here and the limited charge to get things going properly and not damage your battery in the long run. As far as the acoustics are concerned, we have a stereo setup. This is speaker 1 and speaker 2 is here, the earpiece. They're tuned by AKG, and obviously if you go into the settings you're going to be finding some features to tune the experience further, or at least I hope there are. Sounds and vibration, system sound, volume, maybe here, call vibration, this is it. There's Dolby Atmos, there's an equalizer. There are a few channels here, balanced, bass boost, dynamic, treble boost or custom. You can do quite a few tweaks to it. Now let's get to our typical acoustic sample and see what this is all about. Okay, so not much volume, but the bass is pretty powerful. Actually, the sound is very well balanced between the bottom and the top speaker. It's too bad that it doesn't have more punch, more power to it. You can actually not hear it from the other room, unlike some other speakers of even mid-range phones. Treble is fine, bass is fine, voices are fine, but I do want more volume. It's something common for most Samsung phones, the lack of potent volume. Anyway, when it comes to our typical acoustic sample test, we achieve 79.6 decibels at the top and 81.1 decibels at the bottom. What this means is that we are below the Razer 50 and the Razer 50 Ultra, but above the Galaxy Z Flip5, just a little bit. Also underwhelming, the multimedia test in the game Asphalt 9, 94.1 decibels. It's above the Razer 50 and the Razer 50 Ultra, but below the Oppo Find N2 Flip and the predecessor Z Flip5. Next time, maybe a bit more volume wouldn't hurt. Now, time to talk about the cameras. The first one is the selfie shooter. 10 megapixel, 4K 60 frames per second, and at the back, novelty. The 12 megapixel main camera is replaced by a 50 megapixel one, just as good as the one of a Galaxy S23 or S24. There's f1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, and the other camera is a 12 megapixel ultra-wide shooter with f2.2 aperture. We have a LED flash here, and of course the ability to use the main camera as a selfie shooter on account of the secondary screen. Options are pretty typical. If you've seen the options of the Galaxy S24, you got everything from Expert RAW, Pro Video. There's a slow motion, hyperlapse portrait video, dual rec, and single take. And the video department lets you go up all the way to 4K. There's no 8K here, and of course there's a super steady mode, this time in Quad HD, not only Full HD, and a portrait obviously. You can also help yourself using the cover screen as a preview for your shots as shown here. And you can also do something else. You can do this sort of a flex mode to see the options here and the capture here, and do this, place the phone on a wall, for example, when you're traveling, and do this gesture here in front of the camera to take your shot automatically, or just say cheese maybe. Okay, and of course there's this very cool feature, the handycam mode. You can see here standby, you have a rec mode here. I actually used that at a concert in a town in Romania, a Korn concert, and it was very fun. Okay, time to check out the gallery. You have an impressive gallery, an impressive amount of shots, almost 400. Okay, so first things first, ever since the start of the Flip and the Fold series, there has been an overexposure and a feeling that the colors are just not good enough on these foldable phones. Well, this time there are, both on the ultra-wide and the main camera. You'll be happy to learn that all the captures we've taken are satisfying in color calibration, ranging from the skies to the vegetation, so you'll be pretty happy with the results achieved here, color-wise. I actually feel that the main camera is on par with the one of the Galaxy S24. Bunch of selfies here with a lot of texture, clarity, and nice focus. Even though if you're not happy with them, there's always the option of using the main camera. Okay, we actually visited the museum in this town, this central Romania town called Sibiu, and this is the Brukenthal Museum with lots of sculptures, with lots of paintings, local painters, also German painters, Italian painters, Dutch painters. I love the texture here and the way the light falls on these captures. Also beautiful attire from hundreds of years ago. I have quite a few of these shots. And then there's vegetation. Usually in July there would have been overexposure and oversaturation, but luckily the sky and vegetation are spot on here. Also spot on is the focus in close-up and very close close-up, so everything seems fine. Another series of shots of flowers. I'm actually pretty impressed. Usually the Flips and the Folds from Samsung had weaknesses in this area. Food photos are a go. I didn't even have to employ the special food mode. I love the texture here, the details and the focus, so yeah, definitely. This is a place called Charlie's in Sibiu in Romania. Definitely try the shrimp tacos, they're quite good. It's a brunch place. Then we went to the zoo, when you can see here all sorts of felines, jaguars, leopards, even a baboon, I think, at some point. Should be here somewhere. This is the lonely baboon looking at us. The textures here are excellent. I'm talking about the texture of the fur. We also saw some lemurs through glass, but still pretty impressive captures, especially since they were moving around. Even more colors here, so I'm actually impressed by the main camera and by the ultra-wide as well, even though the ultra-wide may sometimes deform the image on the edges and you're going to be losing some details. Okay, even more selfies here. This is a bokeh correctly applied to me. no threads of hair left unclear. And aside from that, I also tried out the Galaxy AI, who created a sketch of me, which is supposed to represent me in a pretty realistic manner. And even more food in a brunch after the concert, excellent texture, details and colors. Okay, these have been the daytime shots. The low light shots include quite a bit of imagery from the concert. This is the band called Spiritbox, followed by the band Korn. I'm sure you heard of them, new metal from America. They're quite good. Okay, also good, or I would say decent, is the level of zoom achieved here digitally. We don't have a telephoto camera, so when Korn finally came on, we have to rely on 2x, 3x, or even 4x zoom, which after a few attempts may even produce some pretty good results. For example, there are some shots here and there which, just like this one, are quite decent for a phone without a telephoto camera. Also this one here, they're good enough for social media. You can see Jonathan Davis from Korn, and that's good enough for me. The fact you can post them online is a testimony to what a main sensor can do even without a telephoto camera. This is actually another solid shot, so yeah. Low light isn't only about the concerts, we also did something else. We walked around town, even though I do have quite a few concert shots here, including some of the lead singer with a bagpipe. It's one of his gimmicks. Okay, and this is the town CPU. This is where I started to notice that there are some imperfections, like these lights are too big, especially in the ultra-wide. The image also gets a bit fuzzy in the ultra-wide. We do have night mode for both the ultra-wide and the main camera. That's a good thing. Colors are pretty much unchanged from the day, they're pretty realistic, and the focus is pretty crisp at night. So yeah, there's that. Even more shots. You can't actually tell which one is a regular shot or which one is a nighttime shot. I mean, I didn't actually feel the need to use the low light mode because the image was pretty clear in itself. So I think this is it. So regular shot and night mode shot, which lights up the scenery even more. I'm pretty impressed by the main camera. The secondary ultra-wide camera is okay. And I think it's time to address the videos. We have quite a few of them. I'm not very sure how the copyright is doing because it's still a concert of a famous band. But here we go. So first of all, the focus test, focusing on this object here and on the background. Pretty snappy, fast and accurate focus, if you ask me. Okay, and then we obviously had a stabilization test. Walking around Sibiu can be pretty tough. There are lots of stairs. You need to have a bit of good cardio here. But it's a lovely town. Excellent stabilization, by the way, with or without the special steady mode. Lovely colors here. There are a lot of hues which are all well captured, and at the end of the tunnel there is light, but the camera had zero problems with that. This is some panning around the main square. There's a big square and a small square in Sibiu. You should remember that if you're visiting. Once again, lovely colors. In general, the Samsung phones have pretty much mastered the art of filming. I always advise would-be vloggers to get one instead of, I don't know, Huawei, Oppo or Motorola, for example. Okay, and we also have some selfie videos. This is one with bokeh. Definitely you can make a touristic shot out of this documentary. Și să înceapă concertele de la Artmania, Korn și Spiritbox, mai precis. Asta e filmarea bokeh. We tried some effects for the bokeh video, and it was fantastic. Another selfie video here, so definitely pretty impressed by what the camera produces. And this is the daytime. We tested everything important here, and then there's the nighttime with the concerts, the beautiful, beautiful concerts. This is Korn. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but okay, so yeah. At some point I was filming in the handycam mode, and the lead singer threw a, I would say, a glass of beer towards me. It touched the phone, it made it wet with beer, but still, in spite of that, there were no problems with the screen. So yeah, and also the zoom is quite decent for a phone without telephoto camera. This is just one of the videos taken using the handset. We have even more here. Amazing visuals. Korn is really bringing this technology with them throughout the tour in all the towns. And actually did another video, which is this one here. Actually put the phone like this, use the selfie camera, and try to see everybody waving their phones during a ballad or something like that, or trying to make the band come back for an encore. It's a selfie camera, that's why it's so fuzzy, but still a pretty impressive moment. Okay, so yeah, you're getting the idea. It's an excellent phone from concerts, for food, for vlogging and vacations. Now, as far as the connectivity is concerned, we're basically getting everything that's required. There's 5G, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS, NFC, USB-C 3.2 and ultra wideband. And we have a few of the tests here. We did some speed tests. Even on holiday, we still try to work a bit. Okay, not now. These are the results we achieved. When it comes to 5G, we got up to 603 megapers in download and up to 63.1 megapers in upload. When it comes to Wi-Fi, 742 over 669. These are actually quite solid results as far as connectivity goes. And the calls were loud and clear. Maybe next year we'll see Samsung doing like Xiaomi Mix Flip, letting us take calls even with the phone closed like this. And now let's talk about the interface and software. As far as the software is concerned, this is Android 14 material with One UI 6.1.1 on top and 7 years of Android updates, which is actually quite excellent. There's a lot of AI here, which is triggered, among others, by this area. So you can press this and draw wherever you want on the screen, like, for example, an animal like this, a strange little creature, and then you can generate some pop art from it or other types of art. You can do the same thing from the note-taking applications, and you can do the same thing even on pictures that contain people, so you can draw objects next to them. These are some examples of how the AI transforms my so-called art. You can also generate it as a 3D cartoon. Okay, quite interesting. And once again, you can do the exact same thing in the note-taking applications, provided that I find it. This is the notes, and this is one example. It's a handwritten note. I can press here, and I can sketch to image if I want to. I can trace around it, and then it will be turned once again into an object like that. You can also have your own portraits turned into sketched or artsy versions of yourself, even though they're a bit flattering at times. So for example, if I go here and start looking for a photo of me, there's plenty to go around. Okay, so we have this one here. I can press this, and I can definitely use Portrait Studio to turn myself into watercolor or a sketch. And I can even draw objects around me, which can be turned into graphics and interpreted by the AI, which gets smarter and smarter. You can also opt, apparently that's how it perceives my face, the AI. Once again, quite flattering. And then we have this option here, sketch to image, where I can just draw, let's say, a person here or what have you, with big ears or horns, and let's see what the AI will generate, maybe. I'm quite curious to see if it generates a person or a critter. It's a huge bunny. It has a tendency to generate bunnies. I noticed that thing. Also birds. Anyway, that's quite interesting. Me with the black metal shirt and a huge bunny behind. Okay, so that's one example of the AI. We also have interpreter, which is kind of cool. So you can trigger interpreter from here. Okay, and English and German. And once you're in a country, you can write something here and the other person will see it here. Where is the beer garden? A crucial question in Germany. Press this and the person is going to see this. So that's pretty cool, the interpreter. There is also a feature of live translation of calls in 16 languages, and there's also the voice recording, which I actually have available here. So if I'm going to do some voice recording here, I can have it converted into text and summarized, useful for interviews. It will even list each person that is talking. And another way of applying AI is going to the notes. And let's delete this image for now. We have this here. You can add recordings while you write or read. You can add PDFs and work with them. And you can also do this. So if you're in a text and you press this here, you can actually change the writing style, do some spelling and grammar changes. These are suggestions that the AI can make. You can change the style from original to professional, casual, and even social media with hashtags and all that. With here, you can also change writing style, spelling and grammar, and Composer will even help you in Gmail, on Facebook. If you want to write something like a standard post, email, social media, or a comment, the tone can be polite, professional, or casual. And another way of interacting with this is the AI from here. Excuse me, no, not this one. Instead, sorry, this one. Auto format, summarize, correct spelling, and translate. The spelling will be corrected. And you can show the corrections here. if you want to. Okay, so there are multiple things here used by the AI. Let's see what else. So we also have the flex mode, which you saw before, used for the camera. You can also use it in the web browser, I think, like this, the keyboard at the bottom and the content at the top side. You can also use it in the gallery, pick a photo and you're going to work with it like this. Also have some of the options and interact with it. Of course, if you can also do sketch to search. I'm curious about my t-shirt here. I can keep it pressed here. Okay, continue. Let's see if you can find my Cradle of Filth t-shirt. Yep, it did. Okay, so that's circle to search, which remains as useful as it was earlier in the year. Okay, and the fingerprint scanner is quite snappy on the side in the power button, and the pre-installed apps are the usual ones which you saw on the Galaxy S series. We have here Galaxy Shop, SmartThings, Voice Recorder, My Files, Internet, Health, Wearable, Wallet, Find, Messages, and Smart Switch. There's the Google Suite here, of course, and for productivity, Microsoft 365, OneDrive, LinkedIn, and Outlook are all present here. I'm not sure if I forgot anything or not. You definitely have AI in the browser as well, so it's available here for summarizing and translating. There's a lot of Galaxy AI available this year. I think we have reached the end of the review and it's time for the pros and cons. On the pro side, the best camera you can find right now on a foldable flip phone. Keep that in mind. Quite good video playback time as far as the battery is concerned. A powerful CPU inside and an overall comfy design, especially when the phone is closed. Galaxy AI is always a plus if you're a creative person. We have some bright screens internally and externally, fast connectivity, and the handycam mode is great if you're into nostalgia and all that. On the cons, well, I have to say that there's throttling and some overheating in games. The speakers aren't very loud, I noticed that aspect. The charging is a bit on the slow side and we don't have a bundled charger. I also noticed that there are less full screen apps compared to the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra and 50. And I would say that PC Mark didn't impress me as far as the usage goes. And the crease down the middle remains as visible as ever. In the end, this feels a bit like a festival phone, as you saw before. It's great for concerts and vlogging and also photo taking, even for food and things like that. Now, the external screen doesn't have as many features as the one from the Motorola rival, so keep that in mind if you're focused on the external screen. What you do have as extras are the AI features, which are good for productivity and creativity. Somehow, I have the feeling that this phone is actually catered to people who go on holidays alone, because it actually helps them do better by themselves when it comes to editing pictures, taking their own shots and videos. So it's a beautiful loaner's phone, which can become very compact, but at the same time very large and useful for taking shots of concert if you're a bit shorter. That's it from GSMDome.com. This has been the review of the Galaxy Z Flip 6. Goodbye.